Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for African News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the White House orders diplomatic families in Freetown to leave as President Obama speaks with leaders of countries affected by Ebola. International concern about the deadly West African outbreak sees the Confederation of African Football postponing qualifying games for the continent's 2015 tournament. Also, scores of families flee escalating turmoil in Libya. As warring militia continue to battle around Tripoli, the weak central government hopes for international help in protecting civilians caught in the crossfire of violence. And here in France, 20 African soldiers who took part in Operation Dragoon on the shores of Provence 70 years ago are decorated for playing their part in hastening the end of the Second World War. First up, the leaders of Sierra Leone and Liberia have spoken with their US counterpart, Barack Obama, about West Africa's Ebola outbreak. The White House has ordered its diplomatic families in Sierra Leone to leave, but has also underscored its commitment to helping contain the epidemic. It's killed more than 1,000 people. 377 of those have been in Guinea. It's declared a national health emergency. Nigeria is the fourth affected country. On Thursday, it announced a fourth Ebola death. As international concern grows, the Confederation of African Football has rescheduled qualifying matches for next year's African Cup of Nations that had been due to be played in Guinea and Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, Junior Binyan from the CAF joins us now. He's in Cairo. Junior, thanks very much for speaking to us. Now, for now, it's just games in September that have been moved to unaffected countries. Are more likely to follow?
Yes, of course. CAF will reassess the situation in mid-September, but the decision taken 2 days ago only concerns the games that are scheduled in September. And you have to bear in mind that those games concern the qualifiers for AFCON, but also the other categories. Those are under 20 and under 17, where qualifiers are going on as well.
Now, concerns have also been raised about games due to be played in Nigeria. Do you have any plans to move on that front?
For the case of Nigeria, a decision is not made yet. The countries that are supposed to play their games in neutral venues are Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. For Nigeria, the situation is not as worse as the other countries because, as you know, initially in Liberia and Sierra Leone, the decision was already taken by football associations to stop any football activity because according to WHO requirements, we don't have to encourage huge gathering. And it's regarding those requirements of WHO, of medical experts, those are CAF Medical Committee members and also WHO officials, that CAF have taken the decision 2 days ago to shift some of the game out of the countries where the outbreak is huge.
Now, is there a risk that the teams from affected countries might not be allowed to participate in the African Cup of Nations, which is due to start in January in Morocco?
We are not in such a figure now. We do hope, as African, and we do hope, all of us around the world, that the epidemic won't increase, won't be as huge as it is now. So we think that things will improve, things will get better in the weeks ahead. And we'll reassess the situation as long as we see how things are going on the ground. So we cannot by today say that in January, this or that will happen. As stated in the circular done 2 days ago, mid-September, we'll reassess the situation, we'll discuss with WHO, and we'll see the way forward.
Thanks very much, Junior Binyan there from CAF. Well, for countries that share borders with nations affected by Ebola, it's a tense wait as authorities brace for the worst. In Ivory Coast, the government's upped efforts to prepare communities to be on the lookout for signs of the disease. Our correspondent sent us this report.
Everyone in Sipilu is scared. In this small border village, doctors as well as other residents are afraid of the same thing, Ebola.
If you see bushmeat or animals, don't touch it, don't eat it.
The same message is repeated everywhere. Tirelessly, health teams carry out sensitization campaigns because everyone in this town knows that the virus is close and that they are vulnerable.
If you eat bushmeat and you have contracted Ebola, if you've had it for some time, in 48 hours or even 24 hours, you will die. Death is there. It's a disease without a cure. It's that serious.
In this village, the roads have been quiet for the past few weeks. Day-to-day life has ground to a halt. The border with Guinea hasn't officially closed, but in reality, few people are crossing over. Those that do have to obey a new rule.
We have to know where people come from and where they're going.
It's like a silent war has begun with an invisible enemy. Health centres are already set up to treat suspected cases. Everyone is on high alert.
It could arrive at any moment. A week ago we were called, so we arrived with all our protective equipment. We thought it was Ebola, but it turned out it wasn't.
There have already been suspected cases of Ebola in Ivory Coast, but for now, all results have been negative.
Well, at least 4 people were killed in the latest bout of violence to rock the Libyan capital. Tripoli has seen an increasing number of deadly clashes between rival militia fighting for control of the city. Authority and residents fear the recent outbreak risks plunging the country back into civil war.
Another night of fear for the residents of this neighbourhood of Tripoli. Several buildings suffered extensive damage from rockets fired by rival factions fighting in the Libyan capital. The chaos has forced entire families to flee their homes.
7 rockets were fired. Look around, you can see the damage. A lot of people were killed.
The Libyan army has also deserted the streets of Tripoli, where the Zintan brigade, now in control of the airport, has been waging a war against the Misrata militias since July the 13th. Authorities are left scrambling to fill the security vacuum. Many fear the country is on the brink of civil war. On Wednesday, MPs voted to call for foreign intervention to help civilians caught in the crossfire.
70 years ago, Allied forces were preparing for Operation Dragoon. The landing in Provence, southern France, hastened the retreat of German soldiers and the end of World War II. Hundreds of African soldiers were amongst the troops, and today 20 veterans from the continent were decorated here in France in thanks for their service. It's an honour that some say was a long time coming.
20 former soldiers from Africa were awarded the Knight's Cross and the Legion of Honor by the French Defense Minister at a ceremony in Paris on Thursday. By bestowing these prestigious awards, France paid its respects to veterans from Sub-Saharan and North Africa. Some say this honor has come late, but for France, this ceremony stands as a strong symbol. 70 years ago, African soldiers arrived in ships in southern France and helped to speed up the liberation of France from the Germans. Infantrymen from Senegal, Algerians and Moroccans are part of the 250,000 French soldiers who fought alongside the Americans to retake control of the key ports of Marseille and Toulon, with Kaba Doumbia, a 97-year-old from Mali, and Batango Tenga, 96 from Burkina Faso, also participated.
I am very touched. The medal that I just received gives me great pleasure.
95-year-old Sheikh Gueye is only one of 2 World War II veterans from Senegal still alive.
These are his other medals that he has received previously. I think that in addition to the medal, he is expecting to receive some monetary compensation. I hope that he will not leave here disappointed.
All the African soldiers who received their medals on Thursday are invited to participate in a ceremony on Friday to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the landing in southern France. They will most likely take advantage of the occasion to ask for higher pensions.
Well, that wraps up African news from me. Stay with us, though. A short break and more news and headlines from around the world coming up.